Geobyte.
Hello friends, welcome to the Geobyte. In this video, let us discuss the solutions for the questions which were given in previous ECET exams. Dear friends, I selected the problems for thermodynamics. Since each and every problem is equally important, my request is you please watch till the last problem. You know, in ECET exam, in general the questions are repeating. Therefore, after listening all these problems, you try to practice all these problems with pen and paper, because the rough work or pen and paper work is very very important to get the success in the competitive exams. Dear friends, this video is not only important for ECET but also for other competitive exams like ISRO, DRDO, etc. Let us take the very first problem. In thermodynamics, parlance, heat and work. Here parlance means terminology. Terminology. In the thermodynamics terminology, heat and work are, dear friends, heat and work are coming under path function quantities. Path function quantities. Therefore, fourth option is absolutely correct. Dear friends, thermodynamics is mainly dealing the heat and work, but heat and work are not coming under properties of the system. The heat and work, these two are coming under path function quantities. Path function quantities can also be called as inexact differentials. Inexact differentials. Inexact differentials. Whereas the pressure, volume, temperature, entropy, these are all coming under the properties of system. Properties of system. Or these are also called exact differentials. Exact differentials. Exact differentials. Exact differentials. You know, in the mathematics, exact differentiation is done by D. Therefore, these can be written as example like this: dp, dv, dt, ds, like this. Whereas the heat and work are path function quantities, these are inexact differentials. Therefore, these should not be operated by d, these should be operated by del. Therefore, heat can be written as del q and work can be written as del w. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the second problem. A Carnot cycle is having efficiency 75%. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle given 0.75. 0.75. If the temperature of the high temperature reservoir that is T maximum. Maximum temperature equal, let it be T1 equal to 727 degrees centigrade. It is equal to 727 plus 273 is equal to 1000 Kelvin. Then what is the temperature of the lower temperature reservoir? Indirectly you are asked to find the minimum temperature of the system. Minimum temperature of the cycle equal, let it be T2 is how much? As you know, my dear friends, Carnot cycle efficiency equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. From this T2 by T1 is equal to 1 minus efficiency of the Carnot cycle. So T2 by T1 is equal to 1 minus efficiency given 0.75 equal to 0.25. Then T2 by, what is the T1? 1000 equal to 0.25. Therefore the lowest absolute temperature equal to, or the temperature of the lowest temperature, what he is asking, 1 minute. The temperature of the lower temperature reservoir. Temperature of the lower temperature reservoir 0.25 multiplied by 1000 is equal to 250 Kelvin. 250 Kelvin. But look at the options. All options are given in degree centigrade. Therefore, it can be converted to centigrade. 250 minus 273 for getting in degree centigrade minus 23 degree centigrade. Therefore, lower temperature reservoir temperature equal to minus 23 degree centigrade. Look at the option 2. Second option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. This problem also very important problem. 5-star problem means most expected problem in the competitive exams. Let us take another problem. Look at the next problem. A mass m of a perfect gas at a pressure P and volume V undergoes isothermal process. The final pressure is P2 and volume is V2. If R is the gas constant and T is the temperature, then the work done in the process is. Dear friends, work done in the isothermal process is asked. Isothermal process means constant temperature process. According to Boyle's law, at constant temperature, product of pressure and volume equal to constant. What is the work done formula? Work done equal to integral 1 to 2 PdV. This is the general formula. But in the constant temperature process, both pressure and volume are variable. Therefore, I can write like this: pressure P equal to constant by V. So in the place of this P, let me write the constant by V for our simplification. Integral 1 to 2 P equal to constant by V into dV. So let me write the constant outside. Integral 1 to 2 dV by V. Integral dx by x equal to log x. Log x. So constant C into log V. Apply the limits from 1 to 2. If I apply the limits from 1 to 2, constant C, constant C can be written as PV. PV or P1V1. PV, of course, this constant can be written as P1V1 equal to P2V2. That is also correct. So PV into log V2 minus log V1. This is base E. That value is looking like log m minus log n. Log m minus log n equal log m by n. M by n. It is equal to log m by n. Log m by n. M by n. 1 minute. N by m. Should be very careful, right? Now it can also written as P1 V1 log V2 by V1 base C. Log base C can be written as ln P1 V1 into ln V2 by V1. That is the formula to decide the thermodynamic work for the isothermal process or hyperbolic process or constant temperature process. Look at the options. Answer is P1 V1 ln V2 by V1. Look at the options. Look at the very first option. Very first option itself is absolutely correct. P1 V1 ln V2 by V1. This problem also equally important problem. That's why I am making this also a 5-star problem. 5-star problem means the most expected problem in the competitive exams. Let us take another problem. Next problem. An air standard Otto cycle consists of the following reversible process. Dear friends, Otto cycle consists of two reversible adiabatic process and two constant volume process. This constant volume process can also be called as isochoric process. And remember, Otto cycle is the ideal cycle for petrol engine or SI engine. Note. Otto cycle is the ideal cycle for SI engine, spark ignition engine, or petrol engine. Anyhow, Otto cycle consists of two constant volume process and two adiabatic. Look at the first one, two isobaric. No, isobaric means constant pressure. Two isochoric process and two adiabatic. The second option is absolutely correct because the isochoric process means constant volume process only. Therefore, the second option is absolutely correct. Let's take the another problem. Look at the next problem. When wet steam flows through a throttle valve and remains wet at exit. For the throttle valve, wet steam is entering, and after throttling also wet steam is available. Then you are asked to identify the correct option. It is like this. As you know, throttling process is also called isenthalpic process. It means enthalpy remains constant, but because of the throttling, pressure decreases. So with this, let me construct the Mollier diagram, can also be called as the HS diagram, enthalpy versus entropy diagram. This is the saturation zone. Now the constant pressure lines, one of the constant pressure line may be looking like this. P1 may be the pressure before throttling, P2 may be the pressure after throttling. In the problem, it is clearly given that the wet steam is entering and wet steam is leaving. during the throttling process, enthalpy has to be constant but pressure to be decreased. It is like this. This is the wet state. The enthalpy has to be constant like this. This may be the representation of throttling process. Initial quality is wet, final quality also wet, but enthalpy remains constant H. Pressure is dropping from P1 to P2 because here P2 is less than P1. P2 is less than P1. Let this P1 equal to 1 bar. Corresponding to 1 bar, the saturation temperature is 100 degrees centigrade. Corresponding to P2, let the P2 equal to 0.2 bar. Corresponding to 0.2 bar, saturation temperature may be around some 70 degrees centigrade or 80 degrees centigrade or some 60 degrees centigrade. Exact value we can take from the steam tables. Look at the saturation temperature corresponding to P1 100 degrees centigrade, corresponding to P2 saturation temperature is 60 degrees centigrade. Since the pressure is dropping during the throttling, therefore saturation temperature is also dropping from 100 degrees centigrade to 60 degrees centigrade. So anyhow, the temperature of the steam decreases. But look at the quality. The state 2 is lying very close to saturated vapor curve. This is the saturated vapor curve. Saturated vapor curve. Vapor curve. Along the saturated vapor curve, dryness fraction X equal to 1. Since the state 2 is lying very close to the saturated vapor curve, therefore I can say that dryness fraction increases. It is like this. So as you know, this is the critical point. The dryness fraction lines are projecting from critical point only. This may be the dryness fraction line corresponding to state 1. X1 may be 0.24. Corresponding to state 2, the dryness fraction X2 may be 0.8. So dryness fraction approximately is increasing from 0.4 to 0.8. Anyhow, by the time the wet steam is becoming wet steam during the throttling process, temperature decreases but dryness fraction increases. I hope you clearly got my point. Let us take the options. Option A, its temperature and quality increase. No, temperature is not increasing but quality increases. First statement is not correct. Look at the second one. Its temperature decreases but quality increases. Correct only, no? Here temperature decreases by throttling, quality increases. So anyhow, the second option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the sixth problem. A single acting two-stage air compressor with perfect intercooling delivers air at 16 bar. A two-stage compressor given. Arrangement may be like this. This is the low pressure compressor and this is the high pressure compressor. High pressure compressor. The local atmospheric air is entering to the low pressure compressor from state 1 with a pressure P1, temperature T1. That air is compressing in the LP compressor. That compressed air is passing to the second stage compression through the intercooler. This is the intercooler. Intercooler is generally working at constant pressure. If I assume this is the state 2 where the pressure is P2, temperature may be T2. Since the intercooling is happening at constant pressure, the pressure remains constant at state 2 and state 3. Pressure at state 3 also equal to P2, but temperature decreases to T3. Temperature decreases to T3. At this low temperature and high pressure, the gas is made to enter to the HP compressor where the gas is further compressing. Because of further compression, pressure is increasing. Along with pressure, temperature also increases. Let the pressure is increasing from P2 to P3, temperature is increasing from T3 to T4. T3 to T4. Now it is given that perfect intercooling condition for perfect intercooling is perfect intercooling condition for perfect intercooling is the temperature after cooling equal to temperature at the beginning of the first stage compression. Temperature at state 3 equal to temperature at the beginning of the compression. One more condition is the intermediate pressure P2 equal to root under P1 P3. These are the conditions for ideal intercooling or perfect intercooling. Now look at the problem once again. A single acting two-stage air compressor with perfect intercooling delivers air at 16 bar. Delivers air at 16 bar means here the P3 equal to 16 bar. Okay, assuming an intake state of 1 bar and 15 degrees centigrade, it means P1 equal to 1 bar and T1 equal to T1 equal to 15 degrees centigrade. T1 is given 15 degrees centigrade. Okay, the pressure ratio per stage is, what is the each stage pressure ratio? Since P2 equal to root over P1 P3, root over P1, what is the P1? P1 equal to 1 bar and P3 equal to 16 bar. 16 bar. It is 1 into 16. Root 16 equal to 4. P2 equal to 4. Therefore, pressure ratio for low pressure compressor equal to P2 by P1. It is equal to 4 by 1 is equal to 4. Similarly, pressure ratio for HP compressor equal to P3 by, look at the pressure limits for the HP compressor, P3 by P2. Here P3 is 16, P2 equal to how much? P2 you got it? P2 you got it is 4 bar. So the 16 by 4 is equal to 4. Therefore, pressure ratio for LP compressor and pressure ratio for HP compressor both are remaining same, that is equal to 4. Look at the third option. Third option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 7th problem. A perfect gas at 27 degrees centigrade is heated at constant pressure till its volume is doubled. It is given that initial temperature T1 equal to 27 degrees centigrade equal to 27 plus 273 is equal to 300 Kelvin. It is happening at constant pressure. Clearly given, it is happening at constant pressure till its volume is doubled. It means final volume equal to 2 times the initial volume. Then the final temperature of the gas, you are asked to decide final temperature T2. Dear friends, according to constant pressure law, for any perfect gas, volume is directly proportional to temperature. From this I can say volume by temperature is proportional to 1 or volume by temperature equal to constant. Volume by temperature equal to constant means what? V1 by T1 equal to V2 by T2. Volume by temperature at state 1 equal to volume by temperature at state 2. From this I can say that T2 equal to T1 into V2 by V1. So T2 equal to T1. T1 how much? T1 equal to 300 Kelvin. 300 multiplied by V2 2V1 by V1. V1 cancelled. Finally T2 equal to what? 600 Kelvin. But look at the options. The T2 equal to 600 Kelvin. Look at the options. All options are given in degree centigrade. That's why let it be converted to degree centigrade. 600 minus 273 equal to 327 degree centigrade. So this is the temperature after it is heated, 327 degree centigrade. Look at the options. Look at the last option, 327 degree centigrade. Therefore option 4 is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 8th problem. Which one of the following is the extensive property of thermodynamic system? Dear friend, the volume is coming under extensive property. Here volume is extensive property, pressure is intensive property, temperature also intensive property, density also intensive property. Since he is asking the extensive property, the first option itself is absolutely correct. Now my dear friends, let me explain what is the physical meaning of intensive property and extensive property. It is like this. If I take a system, like cell phone, the volume of the system, let it be some 5 meter cube, and the temperature may be 20 degrees centigrade. Now if I cut the system into 3 blocks, even if I cut the system into 3 blocks like 1, 2 and 3, the temperature on each surface, T1 equal to 20 degrees centigrade, T2 equal to 20 degrees centigrade, T3 equal to 20 degrees centigrade. That means even if the size of the system changing or mass of the system changing, temperature remains constant. That means temperature is not depending on the size of the system. Such a property is coming under intensive property. Definition is like this. The property which is not depending on the size or mass of the system is called intensive property. Let me write the definition. The property which is not depending on size or mass of the system the property which is not depending on size or mass of the system is called intensive property. Example for intensive property: temperature, pressure, density, etc. Come to the extensive property. Volume is coming under extensive property. How? You may have doubt how. We have taken the volume of the total system is 5 meter cube. Now if I cut the system into 3 blocks, here V1 is not equal to 5 and V2 also never be equal to 5 meter cube and V3 also never be equal to 5 meter cube. That means when you change the size of the system, volume is changing. Since the volume is changing with the size or mass, that means volume is depending on the size of the system or mass of the system. Such a dependent quantity or dependent property is called extensive property. The definition is like this. The property which is depending on size or mass of the system is called extensive property. Let me write the definition. the property which is depending on size or mass of the system. Size or mass of the system is called extensive property. The example for extensive property: volume, total energy or total entropy, total enthalpy, etc. These are all coming under extensive property. But remember, here volume by mass is called specific volume. This specific volume is coming under intensive property. That means all specific extensive properties. Here volume is coming under extensive property. But if I divide the volume with mass, I will get another quantity. That quantity is called intensive property. Let me write that point as note. Note. All specific extensive properties are intensive properties. Example for intensive properties: specific volume, specific entropy, specific enthalpy, etc. Here I wrote volume is extensive property, but specific volume is intensive property. Similarly, total entropy is the extensive property, but specific volume is the intensive property. Total enthalpy is the extensive property, specific enthalpy is the intensive property. I hope you clearly got my point. Now look at the problem once again. Which one of the following is the extensive property of thermodynamic system? Here pressure, temperature, density, these are intensive properties, whereas volume is coming under extensive property. Therefore first option is absolutely correct. Let us take another problem. Look at the 9th problem. For a closed system, difference between the heat added to the system and work done by the gas is equal to change in dash. As you know, Q equal to W plus du is the energy balance equation for a closed system. Therefore, this equation can be called as non-flow energy equation. Non-flow energy equation means the energy balance equation for a closed system is called non-flow energy equation. Can also be written as NFEE, non-flow energy equation, where Q equal to heat, W equal to work, du equal to change in internal energy. From this I can say that Q minus W equal to du. The difference between the heat and work equal to change in internal energy. Now the answer is, once again let me read the problem. For a closed system, difference between the heat added to the system and work done by the gas is equal to change in internal energy. Therefore, third option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 10th problem. During a cycle of thermodynamic process, the heat transfers are the following. Heat transfers are given like this. Heat transfer first heat transfer is plus 120 kilojoules. The second heat transfer Q2 equal to minus 16 kilojoules. Third heat transfer Q3 minus 48 kilojoules. Fourth heat transfer Q4 equal to 12 kilojoules. Then the net work done for the cycle is, you are asked to decide the net work done. Since the given problem is for the cyclic process, for any thermodynamic cycle, the cyclic integral del Q is equal to cyclic integral del W. That means for any thermodynamic cycle, important point is change in internal energy is 0. This point is very, very important. Remember, for a particular process, Q equal to W plus du. This is the equation for a process. Whereas this relation is for a thermodynamic cycle. For any thermodynamic cycle, cyclic integral del Q equals cyclic integral del W. Remember, the cyclic integral represents sum for a complete cycle. It means cyclic integral del Q means Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 plus Q4. Similarly, the cyclic integral del W means W1 plus W2 plus W3 plus W4. Of course, the summation of the work interaction I can call as net work transfer, whereas this one net heat transfer. That means for any thermodynamic cycle, both net heat transfer and net work transfer both are equal. Therefore, net work transfer equal to net heat transfer is equal to summation of the heat transfers Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 plus Q4. Look at the Q1 equal to 120, Q2 equal to minus 16. 120 minus 16. Q3 how much? Minus 48 plus 12. Minus 48 plus 12. You simplify this value for getting around 68. Kilojoules. Therefore, net heat transfer is equal to net work transfer, that is equal to 68 kilojoules. Now look at the options. Look at the second option. Second option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 11th problem. Otto cycle efficiency is higher than diesel cycle efficiency for same compression ratio and heat input, because in Otto cycle, option A, combustion is at constant volume, expansion and compression are isentropic, maximum temperature is higher, heat rejection is low. For that, let me construct the TS diagram for your better understanding. Let us take the temperature versus entropy diagram. The condition is for same compression ratio means compression ratio for Otto cycle equal to compression ratio for diesel cycle. And for same heat input means heat supplied for Otto cycle equal to heat supplied for diesel cycle. Now the efficiency of the Otto cycle, efficiency of the any heat engine equal to 1 minus QR by QS. Here heat supplied is remaining same for both cases. T is arrested. then the cycle which is rejecting less heat can maintain better efficiency. It is clearly given that Otto cycle efficiency is higher than diesel cycle efficiency for same compression ratio and heat input because the heat rejection is low in the Otto cycle. Since the heat rejection in the Otto cycle is less than the heat rejection in the diesel cycle, the Otto cycle efficiency is better than diesel cycle efficiency. Otherwise, let me construct the TS diagram. The 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression for Otto cycle. 2 to 3 constant volume heat addition for Otto cycle. 3 to 4 isentropic expansion. 4 to 1 constant volume heat rejection. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 is the Otto cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 is the Otto cycle. Here compression ratio for Otto cycle equal to compression ratio for diesel cycle means state 1 and state 2 are same for both Otto cycle and diesel cycle because 1 to 2 be the isentropic compression for Otto cycle. For diesel cycle also compression is isentropic. Therefore 1 dash is lying at 1, 2 dash is lying at 2. But in the Otto cycle we added the heat at constant volume. For the diesel cycle I need to add the heat at constant pressure. The slope of the constant volume curve with TS coordinate system is T by CV, whereas slope of the constant pressure curve with TS coordinate system is like this. The 2 dash to 3 dash is the constant pressure heat addition. The slope of this curve is T by Cp. As you know, Cp always greater than Cv, therefore T by Cp is always less than T by Cv. That's why I have projected the heat addition curve for the diesel cycle 2 dash 3 dash, which is maintaining less slope than the 2 to 3. Now the second condition has to be satisfied. Heat supplied for Otto cycle equal to heat supplied for diesel cycle. What is the heat supplied representation for Otto cycle? Area below 2,3. Area below 2,3 is the representation of heat supplied for Otto cycle. That area must be equal to area below 2 dash 3 dash. Since the 2 dash 3 dash is lying below the 2,3, for compensating this area, this extra area maintained by Otto cycle heat addition curve, I extended that 2 dash 3 dash beyond the 2,3. Now area below 2,3 may be equal to area below 2 dash 3 dash followed by isentropic expansion followed by 4 dash 1 dash is a constant volume heat rejection. Now my diesel cycle is 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash, 1 dash is the diesel cycle. Now for Otto cycle heat rejection equal to area below 4,1, because 4,1 is the heat rejection curve for the Otto cycle. Whereas for diesel cycle, look at the diagram. For diesel cycle, for diesel cycle heat rejection equal to what? Area below 1 dash, area below 4 dash 1 dash. Since the area below 4 dash 1 dash is more than area below 4,1, we concluded the heat rejection for Otto cycle is less than heat rejection for diesel cycle. Since the heat rejection for Otto cycle is less than the heat rejection for diesel cycle, Otto cycle efficiency is better than diesel cycle efficiency at at same compression ratio and same heat input. That is the reason I selected the Otto cycle efficiency is higher than the diesel cycle efficiency for same compression ratio and heat input, because the heat rejection in the Otto cycle is low. I hope you got my point. Shall we go for the next problem? Here, my dear friends, I am trying to explain the each and every problem. I am trying to explain the each and every problem with all details. Therefore, you can be understood in a better manner. Though it is taking some more time for deciding the answer, since I am explaining the each and every point, it is very easy for you. It is right. It can be easily understand. Okay. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 12th problem. The capacity of compressor is expressed in, remember, the capacity of the compressor is expressed in meter cube per minute. Meter cube per minute. Dear friends, based on the capacity of the compressor, the compressors are classified like this: low capacity compressor, medium capacity compressor, and high capacity compressor. Here, if the volume flow rate is less than or equal to 0.15 meter cube per second, that kind of compressor is called low capacity compressor. Here, capacity may be measured either in terms of meter cube per minute or meter cube per second. If the volume flow rate is less than or equal to 5 meter cube per second but more than 0.15 meter cube per second, such kind of compressor is called medium capacity compressor. But if the volume flow rate is more than 5 meter cube per second, such kind of compressor is called high capacity compressor. Remember, generally reciprocating compressors are low capacity compressors, whereas the rotary compressors like centrifugal compressor is high capacity compressor. Let me note that point. Reciprocating compressor is coming under low capacity compressor. Similarly, centrifugal compressor and axial flow compressor, these two are coming under high capacity compressors. High capacity compressors. I hope you clearly got my point. Anyhow, the capacity of the compressor is measured either in terms of meter cube per minute or meter cube per second. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the 13th problem. Clearance ratio is referred to the reciprocating air compressor is given by, dear friends, clearance ratio, 1 minute. Clearance ratio may be denoted by C equal to clearance volume by swept volume. So VC equal to clearance volume. Ratio between the clearance volume and swept volume is called clearance ratio. The volumetric efficiency in terms of clearance ratio 1 plus C minus C into P2 by P1 whole power 1 by N. So that is the formula for finding the volumetric efficiency. where C equal to clearance ratio, P1 equal to suction pressure, P2 equal to delivery pressure, N equal to index of compression. Let us take the options. Option A, total volume of the cylinder by clearance volume, no. B, swept volume of the cylinder by clearance volume, no. C, clearance volume by swept volume of the cylinder is exactly correct, absolutely correct. Ratio between the clearance volume and swept volume is called clearance factor. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the next problem. Which of the following thermodynamic cycle has the highest thermal efficiency for the given maximum and minimum cycle temperatures? This problem also very important problem. Therefore, I am marking as 5-star problem, means most expected problem. Dear friends, for the same minimum and maximum temperature limits, the efficiency of the Stirling cycle is equal to efficiency of the Ericsson cycle is equal to efficiency of the Carnot cycle. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle is equal to 1 minus T minimum by T maximum. Remember, Carnot cycle efficiency is the highest efficiency for any heat engine. Therefore, for same minimum and maximum temperature limits, the Stirling cycle is maintaining the highest efficiency, that is equal to Carnot cycle efficiency. Therefore, fourth option is absolutely correct. Let me write that point. Carnot cycle efficiency is the highest efficiency, is the highest possible efficiency for any heat engine. Carnot cycle efficiency is the highest possible cycle efficiency for any heat engine. Of course, the Stirling cycle efficiency is equal to Carnot cycle efficiency, and Ericsson cycle efficiency also equal to Carnot cycle efficiency, provided the temperature limits are same for these three cycles. If the temperature limits are same for these three cycles are maintaining the identical efficiency. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Let us take the next problem. Mechanical efficiency of gas turbine as compared to internal combustion reciprocating engine. It is asking mechanical efficiency, not overall efficiency. Remember, in general, the mechanical efficiency of rotary system always better than that of reciprocating system. It is asking the mechanical efficiency of the gas turbine. Gas turbine power plant or gas turbine is a rotating device, whereas reciprocating internal combustion engine is maintaining the reciprocating motion. The piston is moving up and down inside the cylinder in case of reciprocating internal combustion engine. Remember, not only for this question, but also for any question, the rotary systems are always maintaining better efficiency, better mechanical efficiency than reciprocating system. Here the answer is mechanical efficiency of the gas turbine is higher than that of reciprocating compressor. Therefore, second option is absolutely correct. The reason behind that is, in reciprocating system, there is a lot of friction between the cylinder and piston. That's the reason the mechanical efficiency of the reciprocating system is less than that of rotary system. I hope you understood my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the next problem. Absolute zero temperature is taken as option A 273.15 degrees centigrade, no. Minus 373.15 degrees centigrade, no. 0 degrees centigrade, no. Minus 273.15 degrees centigrade. So absolute zero temperature is minus 273.15 degrees centigrade. Let us take another problem. This is very simple problem. Let us read the next problem. A system comprising of single phase is called homogeneous system. Dear friends, remember the mixture of petrol vapor and air in SI engine or petrol engine is coming under homogeneous mixture, whereas the mixture of diesel vapor and air in diesel engine is coming under heterogeneous system or heterogeneous mixture. Anyhow, the problem is a system comprising a single phase is called homogeneous system. If any system is maintaining same phase throughout the system, that kind of system is coming under homogeneous system. Let us take another problem. Look at the next problem. The best practice of increasing the Carnot cycle efficiency is option A increasing the highest temperature, decreasing the lowest temperature, decreasing the highest temperature, decreasing the lowest temperature, keeping the lowest temperature constant. It is like this. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. T2 by T1. T1 equal to highest absolute temperature, T2 equal to lowest absolute temperature. From this I can say that if lowest temperature is decreasing, definitely efficiency increases. If lowest temperature is decreasing at constant T1, definitely efficiency increases. Similarly, if I increase the highest temperature at constant T2, then also efficiency increases. But what he is asking is the best practice among the two ways. That means efficiency of the Carnot cycle can be increased by either by decreasing the lowest absolute temperature or by increasing the highest absolute temperature. But what he is asking, which is the best way to increase the efficiency in the better manner? For that, first let me decrease the T2 lowest absolute temperature to T2 minus delta T. This is the first case. In the second case, case 2, let me increase the highest temperature from T1 to T1 plus delta T to conclude the best way to increase the efficiency of the Carnot cycle. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle 1 minus T2 by T1. 1 minus, what is the T2? T2 minus delta T divided by T1. Let me simplify it. T1 minus T2 plus delta T divided by T1. Now come to the second case. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle 1 minus T2 by T1. It is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1 is increased from T1 to T1 plus delta T. Let us simplify it. T1 plus delta T minus T2 divided by T1. So it can be also written as T1 minus T2 plus delta T divided by T1. Now you compare these two relations. Look at the 1 minute. Here there is a small printing mistake. T1 plus delta T. You should be very careful. T1 plus delta T. Look at the both relations. Look at the numerator for both cases. Numerator is remaining same for both cases. But denominator in the second case is high. For the same numerator, if the denominator is high, the value will be decreasing. Therefore, the best option the best option to increase the Carnot cycle efficiency is by decreasing the lowest absolute temperature. By decreasing the lowest absolute temperature, you can increase the efficiency in the better way. Now look at the options. First option, increasing the highest temperature, no. Decreasing the highest temperature, no. Decreasing the lowest absolute temperature, absolutely correct. Third option is absolutely correct. By decreasing the lowest absolute temperature, you can increase the efficiency in the better manner. I hope you got my point. This problem also very important problem. That's why I am marking this problem as 5-star problem. Here 5-star problem means most expected problem. Let us take another problem. Let us read the 19th problem. This problem also very important problem. Let it be a 5-star problem, most expected problem in the competitive exams. Let me read it. For the same maximum pressure and maximum temperature, the efficiency of auto, dual and diesel order. Dear friends, for same compression ratio, RC, and for same heat input, for same heat supplied, with these two conditions, remember, Otto cycle efficiency is better than, dual cycle efficiency is better than diesel cycle efficiency. But this problem is given with the condition maximum pressure and maximum temperatures are equal. Remember this point. For same maximum pressure and for same maximum temperature, that means maximum pressure of the Otto cycle equal to maximum pressure of the diesel cycle, and the maximum temperature of the Otto cycle equal to maximum temperature of the diesel cycle. With this case, remember, it is reverse. Diesel cycle efficiency is greater than dual cycle efficiency is greater than Otto cycle efficiency. You remember this point. It doesn't mean that I don't know. I know it. You please try to remember. If for the same maximum pressure and maximum temperature, diesel cycle efficiency is better than, dual is better than Otto cycle. For same compression ratio and heat input, Otto cycle efficiency is greater than, dual cycle efficiency greater than diesel cycle efficiency. So for this case, the case is maximum pressure and maximum temperature. Look at the fourth option. Diesel cycle efficiency is better than, dual cycle efficiency is better than Otto cycle efficiency. Therefore, fourth option is absolutely correct. Dear friends, if you want to know the reason why the diesel cycle efficiency is better than dual cycle efficiency, is better than Otto cycle efficiency, with this condition, for same maximum pressure and maximum temperature, you personally contact me through your message. Definitely, I will personally explain to you. I hope you clearly got my point. Dear friends, while you are listening or practicing, if you find any doubt, you please send your doubt to the GeoByte. Definitely, I will answer all your questions. My basic qualification is also Diploma in Mechanical Engineering. At present, I am working as Assistant Professor in one of the engineering colleges. Let us take another problem. Look at the 20th problem. The ratio of specific heats, that is gamma equal to Cp by Cv, values of monatomic, diatomic and polyatomic molecules are respectively. Dear friends, the relation between the gamma and degree of freedom, the relation between adiabatic index gamma and degree of freedom F is gamma equal to 1 plus 2 by F. You remember this relation. Proof is not required. Remember, the degree of freedom equal to 3 for monatomic gas. Degree of freedom F equal to 5 for diatomic gas. Similarly, degree of freedom F equal to 6 for triatomic gas. Then what is the gamma for monatomic gas? Gamma for monatomic gas 1 plus 2 by F, 2 by 3. 2 by 3 is 0.67, 1.67. Gamma for diatomic gas 1 plus 2 by 5. 2 by 5 is 0.4, 1.4. Similarly, gamma for triatomic gas 1 plus 2 by F equal to 6. It is approximately 1.233. Now look at the values. The gamma for monatomic gas is 1.67. Gamma for diatomic gas 1.4. Gamma for triatomic gas 1.233. Now look at the options. The very first option is absolutely correct because 5 by 3 is equal to 1.267. 1.67 is the gamma for monatomic gas. It is clearly asked the order monatomic gas, diatomic gas and polyatomic gas means triatomic gas. And 7 by 5, 1 minute, let me write it clearly. 7 by 5 is approximately equal to 1.4. It is for diatomic gas. The last one is what? 4 by 3. 4 by 3 is approximately 1.233. It is for triatomic gas. Triatomic gas is also called polyatomic gas. Anyhow, option A is, that means first option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the last problem. Mechanical efficiency of reciprocating air compressor is expressed as, it is like this. This is your compressor. As you know, compressor is coming under power consuming device. For that, a motor may be connected to drive the compressor. By the time the motor is giving, assume the motor power equal to 100 kilowatts. But by the time the power is reached to compressor, the power available to the compressor may be, or power available to compress the gas may be 90 kilowatts. It means in between the motor and compressor there is some transmission losses. Then the ratio between this compressor power, the mechanical efficiency of the compressor equal to ratio between compressor power and motor power. The power available to the compressor divided by power given by the motor is called the mechanical efficiency of the compressor. But remember, my dear friends, this compressor power is also called indicated power. The compressor power is also called indicated power. And this motor power is there na? This motor power is generally called as brake power. Therefore, the ratio between indicated power and brake power for the compressor is called mechanical efficiency of the compressor. Mechanical efficiency of the compressor, not for heat engine. Heat engine it is different. For the heat engine like petrol engine, the ratio between the brake power and indicated power is called mechanical efficiency of the heat engine. But this is a power consuming fellow. For power consuming device like air compressor, ratio between the indicated power and brake power is called mechanical efficiency. Look at the option 2. Option 2 is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. My dear friends, with this problem, I am concluding this video. I hope all of you understood very clearly. After listening all these problems, my request is you practice all these problems once again at least with pen and paper. While you are going to practice, definitely you will get the doubts. You please send all your doubts to the GeoByte. Definitely I will answer all your questions within 24 hours. Anyhow, thank you. Thank you very much. Please subscribe our channel called GeoByte. You can ask the questions not only from thermodynamics but also from the fluid mechanics, the strength of material, the design of machine elements, the refrigeration and air conditioning, heat power engineering, etc. Anyhow, my dear friends, thank you for watching. You please practice, practice, and practice. Practice is the ladder between you and examination. Your practice will bring you to the or towards the examination. Anyhow, thank you once again. Have a great day.
GeoByte.